Without Aaron Rodgers, the Jets season might look drastically different. How should you approach betting Jets futures? The 2023 rookies finally made their debuts. We'll examine the line movement for Offensive Rookie of the Year and let you know who we're backing. Plus, we'll give you our blue chip bets for the weekend. All that and more coming your way as we go inside the lines. Welcome to Inside the Lines, presented by BetMGM, joined by Nick Bonaddio. I'm Olivia, Harlan, Dekker. Okay, let's get started. The biggest news from week one, Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers is out for the season after tearing his Achilles on the fourth play of the game. So let's take a look at how this impacts Jets futures. First up, to win the AFC, the Jets opened with the sixth highest odds at 14-1, and the hype kept building going into week one as they crept up 9-1 odds, tied for the fourth best. However, after Rodgers' injury, they have fallen significantly to the ninth highest at 25-1. So now if you zoom out to Super Bowl odds, the Jets opened as the ninth highest at plus 2,500. Then they were bet down to plus 1,600 before week one. After Rodgers' injury, their Super Bowl odds have doubled from where they opened to plus 5,000. So they're tied for 15th. Nick, how would you approach Jets futures right now?
I would approach it the same way I would approach Chernobyl, which is to say I'm not getting anywhere near it. Look, I'm sympathetic to Jets fans. This is a very difficult situation. This is the first time they've been excited and they have all the hype, and then to have it shut down so quickly, that's really tough. But look, Zach Wilson is not a legitimate NFL starting quarterback. Relative to expected points, he's given up 9 touchdowns versus even a league average player over his tenure. No quarterback with numbers that bad has made the playoffs since Rex Grossman in 2006. This is not a playoff team. This is not a competitive team. In a division with the Bills and the Dolphins, this is a pretty clear stay away. And even if they do get a free agent quarterback or Carson Wentz, Cam Newton, I just don't see this team being competitive. To me, it's totally a stay away.
Yeah, Jets have the longest playoff drought in all major North American sports. And as you mentioned, Zach Wilson, he was 8-14 in his 2 seasons as the starter. But do you believe enough in the defense to maybe ameliorate some of this situation?
I think the defense will keep them competitive. They'll stop them from being, getting blown out of games. But, you do need an offense to score points. This is not the league of 15, 20 years ago where you can win games 21-14, 21-17. That's just not the case. Zach Wilson is not going to be able to have them beat the Bills. They've got the Cowboys. They've got the Eagles. This is actually a tough schedule. I just don't see it. Unless the defense can score multiple touchdowns over the course of the season, if they can turn the ball over, if they can turn that into points, maybe, but I don't see that the strength of the defense turning them into a 10-game winner, an 11-game winner. I think the strength of the defense will just keep down the bottom from falling out.
Okay, let's keep the futures theme going and look at the line movement in the Offensive Rookie of the Year market just after 1 week. So Bijan Robinson, he's been the favorite since the odds opened, and that's still the case after he delivered 83 total yards and a touchdown in the Falcons' win. And in that same game, rookie quarterback Bryce Young, he had a rough debut, 2 picks, moving him from the second highest odds to the fourth highest at plus 900. I told you last week I was high on quarterback Anthony Richardson. He was the best of the 3 rookie quarterbacks in the opening week. He had a pass touchdown, a rush touchdown. His odds moved from plus 700 to plus 500, the second highest odds. Of course, he got a bit banged up at the end and they pulled him. Otherwise, I think my rushing prop would have hit. It was one of my many losses from week one. So Nick, what do you think about movement in this market? Which rookie are you backing?
I'm backing Jordan Addison. I think if you're asking me who's most likely to win it, I'd be still leaning Robinson. I was a little bit surprised at Taylor Allgeier's usage in that offense. I was a little bit surprised at how that split went down. But look, Jordan Addison, great game, big talent. This is a first-round talent, super productive at Pitt, less productive at USC, but that was an injury situation. He's in a great spot in Minnesota. Justin Jefferson is going to be pulling off all of the defense. You see Jordan Addison in the slot, one-on-one matchups against linebackers, really advantageous spots for him. He was the second highest rated rookie from PFF across the entire league. And so, look, if you're looking at it from a perspective of who I think is most likely to win, that's still Robinson. Jordan Addison at 13-1 from the value perspective, I think that's really, really juicy. And then I'd hop all over that.
Yeah, Tyler Algier is very interesting. I'm with you though on Bijan. He played 31 snaps and touched the ball in 16 of those, and that was his first NFL game. I like his workload to increase, and he's going to stay the favorite in my opinion. All right, let's start to look at week 2 and who the public is betting on. You can always expect some overreactions after just one frame. It's no surprise that week 2 is all about the Chiefs after their disappointing loss last week to Detroit. The public still believes, and it's one of the most bet games already. It's a huge disparity between the sides. 89% of the bets are on the Chiefs to cover the spread. Last week, the public only won 2 of the 5 most bet spreads. And Nick, you successfully faded the Bengals -2.5. So what do you make of this disparity? Would you fade the public on it?
This, to me, if I had to choose right now, would be a no bet until we get a little more information around, Travis Kelce, his situation. If I'm forced to take a side, I actually like KC here. I think KC, should have won that game. Turnovers. Kadarius Toney played one of the worst games I've ever seen a professional wide receiver play. I think those are aberrative performances. KC is better than what they've shown. They're going to figure out the run game. I think a lot of what the public is seeing right now, why this is so heavily tilted towards the Chiefs, is people still assume that this is the Jaguars team of years past. This is a very good Jaguars team, a strong defense. Calvin Ridley balled out. Trevor Lawrence clearly ascending into the MVP caliber quarterback. The Jaguars are better than most people think, but I think the Chiefs are a lot better than what they've shown. And I think they're going to come out for this game, hopefully with Kelce, and really start to dictate this game. Until we get more information about Kelce, though, for me, it's pretty clearly a no bet.
See, I like to bet this one before we get information on Kelce because that number is going to shift a lot
Fair.
once we figure that out. This is a great rematch from the playoff game last year. I was at that game, and really, Kelce had career high 14 catches and 2 touchdowns in that game. And the Chiefs get Chris Jones back. He's their game wrecker. And look, Patrick Mahomes after a loss is dangerous. So I like the Chiefs with or without Kelce, but I would get it before they announce he's back because I'm sure he'll be back. But you're right. Calvin Ridley changes this Jaguars offense a lot as an elite #1 receiver. Okay, that's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to that game. Let's continue this theme, but switch to totals. Another AFC game the public feels really strongly about. It's Ravens-Bengals under 46. 79% of the bets are on the under. And look, last week, unders went 11-4. The public did very well on the most bet totals, winning 3 of them, pushing on 1. Nick, do you think the public is getting this one right as well, or is it an overreaction to Joe Burrow and the Bengals' horrid start?
I actually think it's less about the Bengals and more about concerns about the Ravens. I think most people can assume that the Bengals will figure it out. The talent is what it is. Joe Burrow is elite. Jamar Chase is elite. T. Higgins is not going to go 0 for 8 on targets. And so I think most people are correctly assuming that the Bengals will figure it out. I think in the absence of J.K. Dobbins, we know that Justice Hill is going to take over a larger amount of the rush load. We'll see more Gus Edwards. But are they going to throw the ball as much? Like, what's going to happen with the Baltimore offense? My guess is that they're going to really take the air out of the ball. They're going to rush the ball 30, 35 times across the multiple ball carriers that they have. I think this game is going to go really under, not in terms of the points, but in terms of the number of plays that are run. This is going to be a slow, plodding game. 46 is actually a relatively high number for an NFL game in week 2. The offenses are still rusty. And so I actually think the public is right here. I think I'd probably have thought of this if I didn't know any better, a 43.5, 44 kind of line. And so I think the public is right to be on the under right now.
Yeah, I'm with you for points under, though. The Bengals start slow. This is just what they do. Last year, they started 0-2. So we're going to find out if it was the rain that stymied Joe Burrow in the offense or if they are just rusty, the word you use. So speaking of the Bengals, they are one of the 6 teams that lost by double digits last week, which actually may be good news for week 2. According to Bet Labs, teams that lost by double digits in week 1 are 39, 22, and 1 against the spread in week 2. They also win almost 52% of the time, by the way. So let's see who that includes this year. We got Panthers, Bengals, Steelers, Bears, Seahawks, Giants. You see all of them there. Bengals and Giants are the only favorites. So, Nick, which one of these teams is going to cover this week after a disappointing start?
I actually like the Panthers a lot this week. It's at home, primetime game. The Saints barely beat a pretty average to even below average Tennessee team. Carolina with Sanders, with Chuba Hubbard, they've got skill position players who can make a difference. From an analytics perspective, this game is about an even game on neutral field. So the fact that we're going into Carolina and giving points and getting points on the side of the Panthers, I think this is a pretty clear bet on the Panthers to keep this game competitive, keep this game close. I actually like them to win this game outright. And so if you're getting minus 105 on the spread, money line, you're probably looking at maybe plus 130, plus 140. I like Carolina a lot in this situation.
Yeah, I wanted to find a team I could back that fit this graphic, but I'm still with the Ravens. I can't really go in on the Bengals just yet. Like I said, I think they're starting 0-2 again. And the Ravens are great as a dog. Lamar Jackson is 5-0 against the spread as a dog the last 2 years. Ravens are 18-3-1 as a dog against the spread. So I'm kind of liking that. Okay, let's take a look at another trend for week 2. Our good friend John Ewing tweeted this out the other day. When two winless teams play, the underdog is 67-37-4 against the spread since 2005. That's per Bet Labs. So look at the teams there. Nick, which one of these underdogs do you like to cover the spread?
I like the Cardinals. The Cardinals surprised me. The defense was very, very strong. Josh Dobbs, not exactly the most world-beating quarterback ever, but he managed the game. They fed Connor. They made it work with defense. They made it work with ball possession. I think that's an interesting number, 5.5, team going east to west, a lot of travel. The Giants, they looked awful against the Cowboys. Daniel Jones is a mess. I don't think they're as bad as they showed in week 1. And I think the Cardinals are actually a little bit better than most people think. 5.5 is a pretty big number, especially, going on the road. I think that smells to me a lot like a backdoor cover. I do think the Giants will win that game, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. And I do think the Cardinals cover that 5.5.
See, out of those three, I'm going to take the Texans. With two rookie quarterbacks in that game, it's really hard to project either way, but Houston's at home. That defense can be really good. Denzel Perriman was a great addition. So I like them as the dog, but in that game, I really like the under. I think that's the safest bet if you don't know what to make of either rookie quarterback, which no one really does. So before we wrap up this episode, we're giving you our blue chip bets, aka our best bets. Anything we love. It can be spread, money line, total, prop, whatever we want. Nick, what is your blue chip bet?
I really like Cincinnati minus 14 against Miami of Ohio in college football. This is a team that is better than most people think. It's headed to the Big 12. This is a team that's on the rise. They beat a pretty good Pitt team pretty handily in Pittsburgh. From an analytics perspective, this line should be closer to 3 touchdowns. I think for whatever reason, Cincinnati just isn't getting the respect they deserve. I think 14, I'd rather have it at 13.5 just because of the sort of stickiness around 14. But I think Cincinnati wins this game pretty handily, and I'm not really concerned about any kind of backdoor covers here.
Okay, mine's kind of boring, and I hate to do an under. They're no fun, but I like under 39.5 point total in Commanders at Denver. Washington has a stout D-line. Russell Wilson, I'm not impressed. I don't think anyone is. This offense doesn't show speed or identity, and they're banged up at receiver. So take the under. Commanders at Denver. That's my play. Thanks for watching this week Inside the Lines. We'll be back every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. See you next week.